Well, hey everyone, and welcome to Central at Home. No matter where you're watching from or how you're watching, we just want to let you know that it is such an honor that you've decided to spend the next 45 minutes or so with us. Now, if you're being impacted by these experiences, why don't you take a moment now and share this on whatever platform you're watching. Our heartbeat is to see as many people as possible impacted with this life-transforming message, and this is one of the easiest and most effective ways to reach new people and to spread the word about this amazing community of faith. As a church, we've been learning the power of connection and how important it is to our faith. Connection with God and connection with each other. And so, as a church, we're here to help you do just that. First off, today I want to challenge you to personally connect with God, to open your heart and to feel God's presence as we worship together, to open your mind and to challenge your thoughts through the teaching and discussion questions following the experience, and to open your soul to connect with God. Also, if you'd like to worship through your giving and make sure that no one misses out on being a part of this amazing faith community here at Central, the easiest way to do that is to head over to our website at centralcc.ca/give and follow the prompts. You can schedule a one-time gift or set up regular, ongoing giving. Either way, everything that we do happens because of your generosity, and so we want to thank you in advance for your generosity. We also want to help you connect with others, and there are a few opportunities you can take advantage of to do that. First, we have groups. We have groups for all ages, demographics, and interests available for you. I'm going to mention a few of them to you right now. If you're watching during our broadcast times of 9 or 10:30 a.m., we'd love for you to stick around after this experience for a group called Virtual Coffee Connections. You can jump into our Zoom discussion for about 45 minutes where we'll engage with the message and spend some time in prayer together and growing on our spiritual journeys. Last but not least is Father's Day. This year we want to recognize our dads for all that they do. It's the little things that have a big impact on our life, and we want to celebrate them with you this year. So as a part of that, we are creating a tribute video for Father's Day Sunday that shows all of the different ways that Dad makes our life better. And so, here is how you can help honor our dads. I want you to think of something that only your dad does. A special tradition that they have, a picture or a video that they share, a funny quote, a bad joke that your dad loves to tell, or it could even be advice that your dad has given you that has been invaluable in your life. Once you have that memory, why don't you pull out your phone and text the word DAD to 905-937-5610, and it'll prompt you on how to submit something for our Father's Day tribute. The deadline is this week, so if you have a minute today, we would love to include your submissions. If you have any questions or would like to find out how to get connected, head over to centralcc.ca/connect or text the word CENTRAL to 905-937-5610. And so that is all from me. The moment that you are waiting for is finally here. Our experience is about to begin. It all starts right now.
I am so sorry. My heart is broken considering recent reports that have continued to uncover the injustice and abuse of the Indigenous peoples of our great nation. Today, I feel the need to express what I'm really feeling. I'm sorry that the church has not always been a true reflection of the love of Jesus. I'm sorry for the times when prejudice and arrogance has been present, negatively impacting how we treat other human beings. The weight of this is felt when I think of the times we've allowed the gross neglect of the most fundamental belief that we hold sacred, that every human being is created in the image of God and is worthy of dignity and respect. I'm sorry for the times that we've tried to force our convictions upon those who did not appreciate nor wish to observe them. For the times that we believed the lie that our task was to make everyone like us, instead of meeting people where they were at so that they could experience God's love through us. I'm sorry that under the guise of morality, we've often forsaken the most critical command of Jesus, to love others as we love ourselves. But saying sorry isn't enough. The time has come for us to take responsibility for the past, present, and even future ways that we mistreat people. It's time for us to rebuild relationships, listen to one another's stories, cry on each other's shoulders, and give a helping hand. It's time for us to move past excuses and instead move toward our possibilities. What would it look like to truly value and appreciate one another as equals? What would it feel like to see everyone as family? And further, what would be possible if we really fought for a nation where everyone championed love as their top priority? I think that would be a beautiful place to live. That's the kind of place I want children and grandchildren from every culture who calls this great nation home to freely experience. But it will only happen if we are willing to learn more about, advocate for, and reconcile with the Indigenous peoples of this nation. My heart breaks for what has happened. But know this, I am committed to changing my own attitudes and my own actions to make today and tomorrow better. And this is my prayer for you too.
There is no shadow that has ever overcome your light. And there is no rival that could ever stand against your might. You've always been with us. Every battle you've already won. We've already won. There's no weapon, there is no weapon that has ever left a mark on you. And there is no army with the power to conquer truth. You've always been with us. Every battle you've already won. You've already won. Show me one thing you can do. Show me a mountain you can't move. He's the God of the breakthrough. Anything is possible. Oh yeah. Show me one thing that's too hard. Show me waters you can't part. He's the God of the breakthrough. Anything is possible. Is possible. And there is a kingdom that's advancing at the speed of light. And in his kingdom, every dead thing is bound to rise. God a redeemer, he is faithful to revive. He will revive. Show me one thing you can't do. Show me a mountain you can't move. He's the God of the breakthrough. Anything is possible. Show me one thing that's too hard. Show me waters you can't part. He's the God of the breakthrough. Anything is possible. It is possible. Sing all of my fear. All of my fear will turn into praise. Shake off despair as I sing out your name. Victory dance, I will dance out in faith. We'll crush disappointment, then break every chain. Come on. And all of my fear I will turn into praise. Shake off despair as I sing out your name. A victory dance, I will dance out in faith. I will crush disappointment and break every chain. And all of my fear I will turn into praise. Shake off despair as I sing out your name. A victory dance, I will dance out in faith. I will crush disappointment. Show me one thing you can't do. Show me
that miracle in our lives that we need right now. God, we trust you with it. We trust you with it because you've been there for us and with us. Oh, through the ages you've been with us.
God of Abraham, you're the God of covenant, of faithful promises. Time and time again, you have proven you do just what you say. Through the storms may come and the winds may blow, I'll remain steadfast and let my heart learn when you speak a word, it will come to pass. Great is your faithfulness to me. Great is your faithfulness to
God, you are my God, and so I will praise you with everything I have. God, you are our God, and we love you. God, you are our God, and you will see us through. God, you are my God. And we're so thankful.
Sing the praises of the Lord, you his faithful people. Praise his holy name. For his anger lasts only a moment, but his favor lasts a lifetime. Weeping may stay for the night, but rejoicing comes in the morning. Psalm 30, verses 4-5.
I want to start today with a provocative question, and it's simply this. Is this Christianity thing even working anymore? I mean, think about it. What makes us different? Now, maybe you're not a follower of Jesus, and so this is kind of new to you, but maybe you are, and I really want to challenge you today, because I think a lot of us think it's what we say or what we do or how we act. And if I'm honest, I'm having a hard time distinguishing between those who are followers of Christ and those who are not in those areas right now. So I wanted to do a whole series entitled Faith That Works. Like, I don't know if you're like me, but I want it to work. I want something that's practical and meaningful and actually has an impact, not only in my life, but in the lives of those around me. And so we're going to be studying the book of James for the next 4 weeks and exploring what he says makes us different, how we can have a faith that actually works. Because it's no good having a car if it doesn't work. It's no good having an oven if it doesn't work, right? It's no good having a life or a worldview or a philosophy or a religion or a belief system if it doesn't work. And so we're going to start today by exploring what James says actually makes us more different, and it's how we suffer. It's how we suffer. So if you have your Bibles, I want you to turn with me to James chapter 1. James is the half-brother of Jesus. So he saw Jesus and he is going to be martyred. Legend tells us that he was pushed off the temple. That didn't kill him. So he got up on his knees and began to forgive those who had pushed him off, and they stoned him to death. Man, that did make him different. But here's what he says in James chapter 1, verse 2. He says, I want you to consider it. Now, in the original language, that word is in the imperative. It's not a suggestion, it's a command. Do this. Consider it pure joy. And that word joy isn't what you and I think of. It's not happiness because you saw cute puppies or have an ice cream on a sunny day. That joy means deep contentment, regardless of what's happening outside of you. So consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters. So he's speaking specifically to followers of Jesus. Whenever you face trials, and that word just means a difficult situation. Sometimes it's outside of you, sometimes it's inside, sometimes it's your fault, sometimes it's not. Anytime you face a difficult situation, James says, I want you to consider it pure joy. Does that make sense to you? I had to dig into that because that doesn't make sense to me on the surface. But what he's going to teach us is that actually it's in the suffering or trial or temptation. Another word we could use is testing of our faith that we are proven either authentic or inauthentic. There was a time in history when people, when they would receive a coin, a gold coin specifically, they'd bite down on it. And the reason they did that is because gold is soft. And they could tell if their bite marks were in the coin, it was probably pure gold. If it wasn't, it had been mixed with something else. It wasn't the real deal. So here's the really hard question for Bill today. Bill, when suffering, trials, temptations come your way, are you proven to be the real deal? Do what you say and what you actually do match really in that moment when you suffer? And that's a hard question. And I know the temptation is to think, well, why would God do this to me? Well, he goes on in verse 13 to say, when tempted, same word as trial. Okay, those are the same words in the Greek. When tempted, no one should say, God is tempting me. For God cannot be tempted by evil, nor does he tempt anyone. But each person, each of us is tempted when they are dragged away by their own evil desire and enticed. Then after desire has conceived, it gives birth to sin, and sin, when it is full grown, gives birth to death. In 1 Corinthians 10:13, Paul says, no temptation has overcome you that is not common to man. Look, we all suffer. But God is faithful, and he will not let you be tempted beyond what you can bear or your ability. But with temptation, he also provides a way of escape that you may be able to endure it. Here's the point. You get to choose how you respond to suffering. And it will either lead you to contentment or joy or complete discontentment and despair. But the point is, you get to choose. So why would I suffer, or why should I do this? That's a really good question. And what does suffering do? Well, he says in verse 3, listen, you should consider it joy when you suffer these trials because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Now, this is an analogy borrowed from the Roman guards. When Roman guards, when training, would put heavy loads on their back, heavy packs, and they would march in unison in the heat for long periods of time. It was their way of building up endurance so that when the battle really happened, it was all that training would come into play and they could be victorious. That's the analogy here. When you learn to suffer well, it prepares you for future battles because we all battle. And so if you're in a battle right now, I want to encourage you that there is a way out, a way of victory. And maybe you're not in a battle. There's a way to prepare for this battle. So he says in verse 4, let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything. So here's this divergence in the road. What they're saying is when you suffer, if you consider it pure joy, there's a way out. That leads to maturity in your faith. When you don't, it gets full blown into death. That's the point. And what makes us different is how we respond at that crossroads. Because here's what I've learned about crisis. First, it reveals your true character. I don't like this any more than you do, but I've learned this. In crisis, I actually show myself. I show what I really think. Like if I can say, oh yeah, I have a peace that passes all understanding, except then when I'm panicking because things aren't going my way. I can say, oh yeah, I love all people, except when then someone hurts me. I can say whatever I want. It's really tested when crisis comes. It really reveals your character. To use an analogy for this, I love the illustration of a bathysphere. So for centuries, human beings have been fascinated with the depths of the ocean. There are still parts on this planet we have not explored because it's simply too deep for us to go there. And the challenge we have is the deeper you go in the ocean, the greater the pressure. So if you've ever seen an old World War II movie where a submarine, right, loses its ability to sail or float or sink or whatever they do, it sinks to the bottom and it literally is crushed by the external pressure. So we thought, okay, well, we'll outsmart the ocean. We'll build a bathysphere, which is just basically a big giant ball of reinforced steel. But even that could only go so far. And you see, a lot of people deal with crisis this way. They think, oh, I'll just get a tougher skin. I'll just become stronger. I'll become better. I'll fight for my way, my rights. But that external pressure will always get you. But what's really fascinating is as they go deeper into the ocean, they're realizing there is actually something living down there. I don't know if you've seen any of these freaky fish, but they live down there. And you think, how is that possible? A human being would be crushed like a cheap tin can. But these fish survive. I'll tell you why. Because they've figured out a way that the pressure inside of them is greater than the outside of them. And I think that's what James is getting at. That when we can learn to have a pressure inside of us, we call it faith or following Jesus or a true faith, that can become greater than whatever external pressure is placed on us. And when we don't have that, we're easily crushed. Our character is revealed. So here's what I've learned when I feel like I'm in a crisis. Let me just use a personal example. I'm coaching and I maybe get a little overheated. Let's just use that word. And I may get, let's say, it's never happens, but a yellow card, just for argument's sake. And that moment, I have to go home, driving home and go, is that the person I really want to be? Do I really want to be that guy? And it's amplified when I see another coach losing his marbles over something. I'm like, what is wrong with you? And then I realize, wait, I react the same way. Or even more painful for me, when I was a young dad and disciplining my kids, there were times when I was like, I don't want to be this person. Or even how I treated my wife, I don't want to be the person who says those kinds of things or does those kinds of things. You see, crisis reveals character. But you can turn this around. James says, if you understand this, you understand where it comes from, you can actually turn it around and use it to strengthen your character. Here's the cool thing. If you're willing to suffer well, go through trials and temptations, and we use the word tribulations, well, it can actually do something positive. Think about it this way, right? You've heard the saying, no pain, no gain. I love the way Andy Stanley says it. Pain without gain is a shame, right? The truth is, everything great has to be through some kind of stress or pressure. Think about a skill. So I love playing the guitar. When I first got married to my wife, or started dating her actually, all the men in her family play the guitar. I did not. That was unacceptable. So she bought me a guitar. I picked up on the hint. So I started to learn. Can I just tell you something about learning to play the guitar? It's really hard. Your fingers hurt. My fingers literally would bleed because I was pressing on the strings and it was new. My fingers weren't used to that. And they weren't malleable enough to reach some of those really difficult chords. But it was through perseverance, through pressing through, that I was able to create music. And she married me, so it was worth it. Here's my point. Maybe the suffering or the trial or the temptation that you are going through, I know may not be your fault. And I'm sorry that you have to go through it. I'm frustrated with things I have to go through. But I've learned if I can go through it well, it will reveal my character. And if there's parts of my character that need to be refined and I let that happen, I'm actually better for it. Can I just tell you the truth? I am a better dad. I'm a better husband. I'm a better friend because of the mistakes and failures, the pressures that have been applied to my life. And so when I go through crisis, not only do I ask, what does this say about me? But I also ask, what can I take away from this so that I can be better? So maybe you're like, okay, I want to get there. How do I do that? I learned a new word this week. It's catastrophize. It's a brand new word. It's a legit word. It's on the internet, so you know it's true. But catastrophize, here's what it means. It means to view or present a situation as considerably worse than it actually is. Now, I know there's no thoughts, no current scenarios going through your mind that reflect this, but it means to imagine the worst possible outcome of an action or event. So in crisis, we tend to catastrophize. On social media, we catastrophize. All these reports catastrophize. And what James is saying is that's not the way to deal with crisis. It's actually to stop making it bigger than it is and seek for what is really true. How hard are you working to discover what is really true in the face of your suffering? That is so powerful. So he goes on to say in verse 5, if any of you lack wisdom, so maybe you're like, I don't know. I don't know what to do. I don't know where to turn. I don't know how to respond. He said, you should ask God. Why? Because God is the source of truth. who gives generously to all without finding fault, and it will be given to you. But when you ask, you must believe and not doubt. That simply means you have to be intentional. You have to work at this. It is a new skill set. You're going to have to discipline your mind and your heart and your words and your actions toward what is true, because it isn't natural to you. It isn't natural to me. Because the one who doubts is like a wave of the sea, blown and tossed by the wind. That person should not expect to receive anything from God. Such a person is a double-minded and unstable in all they do. Whoa, okay, James, just tell us what you really think. But here's his point. At that crossroads of crisis, you're either going to learn to navigate this with God's help, and you're going to find contentment and you're going to mature in your faith, or you're going to let it destroy you. You're going to become discontent, and it's going to lead to death. That's the reality. Pressure will either crush you or build a resolve and strength inside of you that is greater than whatever pressure comes your way. And the cool thing about this is you can continue to go deeper and deeper and deeper into what really matters when you walk this way. And so what does this really mean, this wisdom from God? I want to just close with 3 questions or 3 thoughts. The first for me, it means that I've got to put God or truth in its proper place. Look, you can say you believe whatever you want. Like you can say, for example, God is my provider. But what about when you have no money in the bank? Or what about when you have no money in the bank and you still are asked in your heart you feel to be generous? Wow, that's the test. You can believe God works all things together for good. You can say that. But do you really believe it when it looks like everything is working out for the worst? I mean, this is the test, isn't it? Do you really believe this? And are you willing to put your attitude in action where you say your faith is? And again, only you can answer that question. This isn't condemning. This is just a test. It's like these little strips of paper that I have, or this tester for my pool. I put it in, I pull it out. It just tells me. It's not a critique. It's not condemnation. It just is an examination of what really is. And so have you put God and truth really in his proper place? Second, have you put the issue or the situation in its proper place? Like, is it really as big as you're making it? Like, is it really gonna turn out as bad as you think it is? Is it really even your responsibility? Oh, wow, can I just stop you for a second? Can I help you with a lot of your social media feeds? You're talking about things that aren't even your responsibility and you can't change. So you're just ranting, you're just venting, and you're being crushed by it. Listen, change what you can and ask yourself, how should I really respond? Especially as a follower of Jesus, if love is our top priority, is love really how you respond in every situation? Are you responding with love right now to whatever organization, person, situation that you think is oppressing you? Or like James, who, following the example of his brother on the cross, after being pushed off a roof, got up on his knees and began to ask for God to forgive those who were killing him. And then he was stoned to death. And then finally, put your future and your value in its proper place. Look, if I've learned one thing, and I've learned lots of things in my life because I'm a work in progress, I've learned this, that I can allow my situation to define me, to crush me, to hinder me, to limit me, or I can actually use it as a propellant to do something greater, to let God define me, to let love win in my life, to let love win and faith in my thoughts and in my heart. And you have that choice. I always ask myself all the time, how can I be better? Not to beat myself up, but so that I can be a better reflection of who I really want to be in the future. So can I ask you this? Are you acting today in such a way that your future self will be proud? Or you will become the future self you want to be? So James finishes this thought with this idea. If you do, this will come with a promise. And here's what it says in verse 12. Blessed is the one who perseveres, there's that word again, under pressure, the trial, because having stood the test, that person will receive the crown of life that the Lord has promised to those who love him. And what is this crown of life? Can I just break a myth on this? It's not some future event that you get. It's not, you get a brownie badge and you get a little patch on your Christian sash when you get to heaven, okay? It's actually talking about a life that really matters right now. I was thinking about this with my daughter, who's about to give birth soon to our first grandchild. And I know, because I've gone through it, what she's about to experience. And I know that in that moment, it's going to be very difficult. And I want to save her from that. I really do. But I also know the joy, the end product of that process. Yes, it's going to be painful. And I wouldn't wish that on her. Yes, it's going to be difficult. And I'm sure there are going to be times when she's like, I don't want to do this anymore. But I know at the end of it is going to be life. And what God wants to do in you right now is give birth to something new, to give you life where you think there's only death. He wants to step into your crisis with you. And if you'll let him give you the internal pressure and fortitude to endure it, so not only will you win this battle, but you'll win the next one too. And at the end of your life, you can look back and say, it wasn't easy, but it was worth it. It was hard and I wanted to quit, but I didn't. And my life became what I dreamed it could be because of God's help. That, my friends, is a faith that works. And with that, I bless you. I want you to win. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Well, thank you so much for tuning in with us today. And I hope that you were challenged as we hear the fact that we aren't like the rest of the world, that there's something that makes us different. And I hope that you take time throughout this week or today to really reflect through the discussion questions and listen for what God is speaking to you personally. We'd love to challenge you to take your next step today with God and with others. And there are a few ways that you can do that here at Central. First off, if you made a decision today to follow Jesus, we would love to celebrate with you, as we can't think of a better decision that you could have ever made. We'd love to help you on that journey if we can. And so, if you made that decision, simply text the word CENTRAL to 905-937-5610, and we'll follow up with you this week. Also, if you're watching during our broadcast times of 9 or 10:30 a.m., we would love for you to stick around after this experience for a group that's called Virtual Coffee Connections. You can jump into our Zoom discussion for about 45 minutes where we engage with the message, spend some time praying together, and growing on our spiritual journeys. And again, like I mentioned earlier, the deadline for our Father's Day tribute video submissions is this week. So now that you've had a moment to think about your favorite memory, quote, or piece of advice from your dad, why don't you pull out your phone and text DAD to 905-937-5610 and help us honor our amazing dads. If you have any questions on how to get connected, simply head over to centralcc.ca/connect or text the word CENTRAL to 905-937-5610 and you'll find everything you need there on how to get connected. Well, that is all from me. I hope you have an amazing week and we'll see you back here next week.